folks, so today it is day 2 of lockdown here in Victoria, and I thought I would do a little tutorial today because obviously we can't do much to do with this area of the face. I thought that it would be a super cute idea to do a bit of an eye look. So stick with me and let's see how it turns out. Okay, so I know we don't have many places to go except the shops and to get vaccinated, but I thought I would do a cute little look just to, you never know, you might meet your future husband or wife or significant other while you're out getting the milk. So let's just look at a cute little way to make ourselves look cuter. Now, the first thing I would do in a post-COVID world would be to put something onto my face to act as a primer to remove any shine and also any possibility of transfer onto the inside of the mask. We're not going to have a lot of product in this area here. However, as the product blends down, I don't want it to move. No one wants that. So I'm going to use this handy dandy little product I've got here. Now, this was given to me by the tip was given to me by a very special makeup artist named Ben Naprowski, who works here in Melbourne. And this is an old school makeup secret. This is called Milk of Magnesia. Now, Milk of Magnesia, it's I think it's actually designed as a laxative, or no, an anti-laxative for children. But it is an old school trick to put a little bit of this onto your schnoz before you go ahead and put your foundation and whatever on, because it will keep it super matte. Now, the trick with Milk of Magnesia is not to use too much. I'm going to use 2 drops, like that. Very, very light amount. Less than a standard primer, I would say. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by buffing that onto my skin and really making sure that's buffed in. One thing I find with the Milk of Magnesia is, say if I left it like that, these edges dry and it's a little bit hard to blend that residue away. So I just want that to be really nice and blended. There you go, see, I haven't even used all of it. So that is pretty much all I need. You can see there's no residue remaining, but this particular area here and there, because I put it there, will not be shiny and less likely to transfer. So the second part of this little look for my base is a decent foundation that doesn't cost me $4,000 million. I have worked with many different makeup brands in my time, and the foundations range from almost up over $100 down towards the $20 level. This one, I believe, was $5. So this is Singin' in the Rain Waterproof Foundation by W7 Cosmetics. I picked this up at Chemist Warehouse. Priceline don't stock W7, so Chemist Warehouse. This stuff is the tits. It's a little bit hard to match your colour, admittedly, because there's no attendant or anything there. However, this foundation is waterproof, it's transfer proof, it's creamy. I honestly think it's one of the best purchases I've made for foundation. So now you'll notice I'm using fingers because fuck whatever. I'm using my fingers, deal with it. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna start by just working that foundation onto that region. And then once I've got that application there, I'm gonna go ahead and buff back. I want a nice gradient down, just in case I need to take the mask off or it slips or whatever. I don't want to see a big harsh line, like Batman taking off his mask. I don't need too much upstairs on the forehead, but I reckon I'm gonna bring a little bit up the sides of the temple. With my maturing 33-year-old skin now, I'm starting to get some lines and things upstairs on the forehead, so I don't want to, emphasize those. So you can see I'm taking the foundation up through to the side of the forehead, and then say, for example, if I had like redness on my forehead, what I would probably do is I'd go back in with a little tiny bit and just bring it above the brows like that and down, not in this area. This is a danger zone for wrinkles, so don't over apply foundation in this area. Okay, so now that's on, the next phase is concealer. I use this is one of my holy grail products. This is Age Rewind by Maybelline, which is a concealer. The shade itself is 60 Brightener, and I like this shade because it's slightly pink, or slightly peach, and those colors, peach is the enemy of blue. So I have plenty on the end of that brush. Another trick with this, don't over apply concealer under your eyes. Don't put a lake under there and then hope to bake it and dry it out and all that stuff, because you are gonna look fantastic in a very heavily altered photoshopped image, but in real life, you're gonna look like a lizard, so keep it light. And I bring that through that area, and then I'm gonna bring up a little bit up on top of the brow like that. Now I'm going to go ahead and buff that in. You'll notice that I didn't put a heavy amount on the lid. Just enough to coat. And now, blending that back into the base. Doing my best to make that look as natural as possible. It is quite a bright shade, but it will all work out in the wash once I get my eyes on. Look at the difference already. Like, you can see it's almost totally deleted my dark circle. Okay, so I've put concealer on, foundation, and my primer. Now, I'm actually going to jump straight into my eyes. I'm not going to bother to set my lids just yet because the tackiness will work for me. So the eyeshadow palette I'm going to use today is the Jaclyn Hill Volume 1 from Morphe. It's a very good palette. It's been remade since, and I think the formula quality has dropped a little bit. However, it is still an amazing array of colours. So I'm going to use it. So let's get a brush this time. Now I'm going to go for just a little extra glam than a daytime look, but not so much like a super insane nighttime. So I'm going to go for this cute little rose gold colour here. I'm using a little flat shader, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to just start by setting that concealer with that shade. Now, if you are prone to very oily eyes, very oily lids, I would suggest getting your hands on a very decent eye primer. One of the absolute best ones that I could recommend for you is a paint pot by MAC. These things, this is called Perky. I think they've just re-released this color. They've just upgraded the whole range of the paint pots. And this stuff, it's a very light, not thick and not watery, not too dry consistency. See, it's almost like a mousse. You spread that on the eye like butter, and it will absolutely stop any kind of creasing. Now you'll notice when I'm placing it on my own eye shape, I'm bringing it up above the socket line there because I have a slightly more prominent brow than my lid. So I want to be able to see that shadow pop up from the perimeters of my eye. If I put it too far low, you'd only see it if I was looking at you like this or if I was blinking. I know some makeup artists like to go in really heavy with the really dark colours to start with and buff that out with soft colours. However, for a daytime look, I like to do the opposite because you can build and you have a little bit more choice in how intense you build it. So I'm going to start off with something relatively mild, like this little camely tea sort of colour. And I'm going to pick that up on the end of my brush. This is a 217 blender brush by MAC. I always start on the outer third of the eye. And now what we're doing is we're not just doing window wipe, we're not just doing little blends here, but we're going to create like a little comma, almost like I'm drawing a 6 on my eye, like that. See the 6 shape, but backwards. So start there, spin, and then feather. Again, always coming back to that point of origin there. Wherever you place your brush down first is going to be the darkest and most intense part of the look. So that's why I keep coming home to that outer third. I'm not starting in here, I'm not starting up here. I'm starting there, bringing it across, and then feathering it out. And it just adds a little bit more diffusion to that initial look. Coming along. So what I would do now is you can go back in with a smaller brush if you like. If you're in a hurry, you can still use your blender. I personally use one brush for most of the look, but you could use 70,000. You just got to wash 70,000. And who's got time for that? Well, we do because we're in lockdown. But I'd rather be watching TV. So I'm taking my blender and I'm creeping up all the way up to the end, and I'm just very gently compressing that brush. Pinch just enough, not to sandwich it shut. And then we're going to go ahead and blend under the eyes with that. What this will do is it'll create a sense of fullness and openness in the eye and really supports the white of the eye, so it makes your eyes look brighter as well. So you can see it's still quite subtle, so I'm going to go ahead now and I'm going to intensify that using, what do I feel like? I'm going to go in for that slightly darker version of that shade now, and then I might migrate down to some of these terracotta shades. We'll just see how it feels. And I'm doing the same placement again, keeping it tight, and then hooking. But not doing the exact same motion twice, because if I just did that same 6 shape twice, we're going to end up with one big 6 sort of hook shape with no blend. So what we want to do is when we're moving down into these more intense colors, we want to keep the localization of the blend nice and tight. See how I'm not blowing it out as far? I'm keeping it close to the lid and allowing that to blend into that transition shade. Now we're going to move into this darker, more terracotta kind of colour. And again, as I'm moving down into that concentration, I'm keeping this blend much tighter. So you can see I've actually crept a little bit closer up to the end of my brush. And I'm doing that same start of that, almost like the start of that 6, but I'm not pushing it off into the tail as much. I don't want this intensity over here. I want to keep it here. A little bit underneath on the outer third, just to connect that up. Okay, so you've noticed that this shadow here has blown out a little bit too low. I'm not worried about that, and that is why in this case I did my eyes before I completed my base. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go back in with my concealer, and just following the top of the cheekbone, I'm just going to quietly erase any shadow there that I just don't need. Because if I left it like that, what happens is it can cause the eye to drag, and I want lift. So you can see I'm going around and lifting her up. And now for eyeliner. Now eyeliner, you could spend 40 minutes on, you could spend 5 minutes on. I'm gonna do the latter, and I'm gonna be using a pencil. This is Teddy color by MAC. Now you can see it's like that really pretty sort of deep ebony chocolate. Very pretty little shade. So what I'm gonna do with this is I'm actually going to put this on the outer third, and feel free to make a mess, it's okay, because this is all gonna get blended in a second anyway. There. And then on the lower third, but not as intense. We don't want to hook that down too much because we want to bring the lift the eye up. If I make this area too dark, it brings the eye down. And now to jump in and blend that out. Tiny little bit into the waterline now. And doesn't that make a difference? See the definition difference between the liner and without? That might be too much for you for an everyday look. That's totally chill. Just go for this or less. You could stop at any point along this train ride. And now upstairs to the brows. Now I like to keep it quite minimal for going out for the day, but brows are the frame to the face, and if I left it like this, sure, it could be cute, but is it as cute as I want it to be? So what I'm gonna do is I'm actually just gonna be using some soap. Now this is the soap from the Beauty Blender, I believe. You've gotta use a soap that contains a glycerin in it, so it holds the brows up without them looking like, you know, a cow's juice in your face. So I'm gonna take a little touch of setting spray with my soap, give it a good spritz-a-roo, take a disposable mascara wand, and, ooh, slippery, who would have thought? Grind into that until I've picked up a sufficient amount, and then starting from the bottom of the brow, pulling it through. Rolling the brush as I go. I want fresh, combed looking brows. So the first key to a good laminated brow is to the heavens. Make them go up and as crazy vertical as you can. Then what we're going to do with the actual wand is behead any of the stragglers. Tall poppy syndrome. You stand out, you get your head cut off. And immediately that adds volume. Now I'm going to take Deep Brunette Velux Brow Pencil, the Rihanna edition, and I'm going to go ahead and just fill in any obvious gaps. It's a little compressed pencil, see? So you could use any kind of pencil. I prefer to use cool tones. Don't go for one that's got red in it, so help you God, or you'll end up looking like Pennywise. And all I want to do is just see how I'm keeping my pressure nice and light, letting that front fade. Working my way through, extending the tail a little, and then backfilling. See? Just to get that nice arch. Next up, mascara. Okay, so now for some garnishes on this dish. what we're going to be doing is we're going to be using some highlighter. I'm going to be using Molten Gold Master Chrome Highlighter. This is by Maybelline New York. You can get it from Priceline, you can get it from Chemist Warehouse. It is phenomenal. Just look at the colour. It's just so pretty. Much better applied with fingers, I find, because with a brush, it's a moussey formula and a brush doesn't really do it justice. So I'm gonna go in with my ring finger and my middle finger, and I'm gonna place that just outside onto the temple there, and then polish in. Now I'm gonna take that same highlighter with a little bullet brush, and I'm gonna just go blink on the inner corners of the eye, just to draw focus. A little bit up under the brows. Will never hurt nobody. And now finally for a little bit of powder. Now I'm just going to use a Savvy transparent setting powder. If this was for photography, I'd probably use a face powder because these things tend to have a little flashback, but I'm not looking at getting my wedding photos when I'm ducking down to get a bag of peas. So I'm just going to go ahead and use that. You can use whatever is handy. I'm going to use a little flat buffer brush, and I'm just going to stamp that gently onto the nose, in under the highlight area, right along that border where the mask's going to sit. A little bit upstairs. On the tippy toe of my nose. And there we go. So, to finish this all off, we're going to go in with some setting spray. Please make sure your setting spray dries before you put your mask on, because if you don't, well, I don't know what to tell you. And there you have it. Easy peasy, beautiful cover boy, girl, agender, non-binary, etc. It is just a little bit of a smoke. It's not too heavy. If I run into my future husband when I'm down at Coles, then yay, I look fabulous. If not, then I live to fight another day. So I hope you enjoyed. Let me know what else you would like to see. Is there anything that's troubling you in the makeup world? Leave it in the comments down below, because I will endeavour to solve it. And until my next video, I will see you all very soon. Bye-bye. Do me a favour and, subscribe. Thank you.